Crafty Crystal with the last part of this beautiful brocade throw. Um, the last section here begins with the solution to a problem that I found. I just made it on the end and inserted it. So you actually have the solution before the problem. And that's this section here on the sides. So don't get confused. I'm going to tell you what the problem was, what the solution is, and then I'll go on with the original video, which unfortunately explains the problem all over again. Okay, here we go. Adding this into the middle of my row 10 because I made this is the 8th one that I've made, and I finally found out what I did wrong, and apparently it's going to work out just fine, so I'm going to continue doing wrong. My my squares look just fine. They match up fine. Um, I don't see any problem with adding the ends on. It's going to make a lovely pattern. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue my mistake. But I wanted to tell you the correct way to do it according to the pattern. Now I racked my head over this. I could not figure out why I wasn't getting the right number of stitches. Duh. You can read something 7 or 8 times and still miss the point. Still miss something. And I did read it about 7 or 8 times. When I told you how to make these flowers, okay, I said you go over 5 stitches because that's how I understood it. So you have the 2 stitches for the chain, the 3 here, that makes it in the middle of your petal. Okay? It doesn't say that. It says 5 single crochets, which means your triple is supposed to go to the end of here. Now, when it goes to the end of there, you have 5, these 5 stitches here, plus 5 here, which is your 2 stitches, your connected stitch, and your 2, that's 5. Your 2, your connected stitch, your 2, that's 5. That's 5, 10, 15. Now, what I'm curious about is how I managed to keep coming up with 18. When I came up with 19 on the side, it was at least correct as far as not using these last 2 stitches. So somewhere along the line, it's the way I was looking at the stitches to connect my corners to. But see, it's coming out lovely. Coming out just lovely, even with my mistakes. Like I said, crochet is very forgiving. And this is a lovely pattern. It doesn't seem to mind that I didn't do my triple flowers out to here. It's working. The last 2 squares I did, because I stopped making them all during Christmas time because I was finishing up presents. I came back and I did 2 single crochets in each of these corners on this row, and it's supposed to be 3. See any big difference? It didn't mind that I did 2 single crochets instead of 3. The only difference is I found it inconvenient to skip 2. I just did the stitch on either side of the connected single. It worked fine for me. Looks the same. Same size. All those different mistakes. And it's still a pretty pattern. It still comes out. Don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes. If it works, then you just created a personalized alternative to the pattern, and you are the creator, okay? Instead of calling it boo-boos. Okay, back to what I made before. Okay, are you ready for the last round? Come a long way. Excuse me. Now there's a problem I have with this pattern, and I have no idea why. I count and I recount. The first one I took apart and put together 4 times because I had this trouble. Her pattern says there are 15 stitches on each side. 15 from here to here to here, along here. I kept coming up with 18. And this time one of my sides is 19. Don't know what I did. I went back and checked. I got 2 stitches between each. All the usual culprits are here. I don't know why, but I'm going to make sure that it has 18 on each side, because these two have 18 on each side, and that'll make it even for connecting. So as long as you make sure that all your pieces have the same number from here to here on your final row, you'll be fine. Okay, it shouldn't be a big problem. Just make sure that you have your 3 stitches, your, is it 2 stitches or 3? Um, 2 single crochets in each space here. So you should have 3, 2 singles, 3, 2 singles, 3, and then make sure you have the same amount on each one on each side. Probably it'd be a good idea to do 2 to this stage before you put the end, and count your spaces and see what's happening on your pieces. Like I said, the other 2 pieces I did were 18 on all 4 sides. This one is 18 on 3 sides and 19 on 1. I don't know why, but I want to make sure I come out 18 on all 4 sides to match my others. And that's essentially the most important part. Make sure that your stitches come out the same, so when it goes to connect them, you won't have a problem. Okay? Now, there's a little difference with how you treat the sides on this one. We're going to go ahead and start on the flower. I'm going to connect with a hole with a double stitch. Put another single crochet in. And then you want 1 in each of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 2 in the corner. Whoops, I forgot something very important. I really messed you up. Okay, on this one here, on the central petal of each corner, you want 3 single crochets. I just saw myself doing that and said, wait a minute. It would help if you had an instructor that really knew what she was doing, wouldn't it? But at least you know you can be a beginner or an intermediate and still be able to do these patterns. Just make sure you write them out for yourself again so you know what you're doing. And then refer to them. Okay, 2 in the corner. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. Now, down the sides here, you want to use only the back loops. And that way you have a nice distinctive line along the edge. See here? Gives you a nice line along the edge. No problem. But you don't do that on the corners. On the corners you go right through. On the sides you use the back loops only, and that gives you your very distinctive edging. So we're going to come down into the next stitch, do a single crochet right on that back loop. And we want to, the pattern says 15, I'm ending up with 18, so I'm going to make sure I have 18 stitches down the back. 1 in each loop as I go. Now this is the side that has 19, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over to this one, come back and sneak into the one behind it. So I'm going to go in here, pull this up, and I'm going to sneak into this one behind it. And that way I combine the two in one single crochet. See there? You can't tell that I did that, and you still have your continuity of your line. Okay? And then just single crochet along. And each time you finish a side, go back and count your stitches and make sure it's the same as your other pieces. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and do this. Well, chains can be a little hard to do sometime. Okay, now when you get to this, the other edge, you go into the last stitch before you get there, behind a back loop. Now this one you need 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do it like we did before when we were connecting them. We're going to go through this back little bump here. In fact, if you want to minimize, I don't know if that'll minimize it or not. Anyway, you can go through this back of this, and that gives you your 1 and your 2 and your 3, 2 in your corners, and then 1, and in this middle one we want 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 in the third one, 2 in your corner, and then single one in each one of these 3. Make sure you miss the one that you came down in, and come into your next one. You continue on like that. Okay, now you'll have your nice line, have your nice little line in here. Continue that on around. Okay, and the last thing we have to do is connect these two. And if you've looked around on the internet or read a lot of patterns, there's so many different ways to connect them. But I'm going to show you one way, and the pattern tells you another way. Okay? Okay, final stage, and that's sticking it together. You're going to put your pieces every other color. So I have this one with the light raspberry on the inside and on the major 12 flowers. I have this one with the raspberry on the outside and the petal pink on the inside. And this one going back to the raspberry on the inside and the 12 petals. Now on the instructions in the pattern, you put it back to back. So you hold your fronts like this, and you pull them up like that, so they're back to back. You can tell the fronts for your loop. Hopefully by now you have put all your little ends together, stuck them all in so you have no ends. Because let me tell you, you don't want to have 36 of these with all their little ends in the back. It would take you days to put them in. Do it as you go, it's better. So you have it back to back. And using the loops that are closest together, the back loops of each one, we're going to start at the corner. We're going to go through the center of these 3 stitches that are right in the tip. Oop. Right, okay. And we're using the same color thread. You could use a contrasting one if you like. That would be an interesting look since it's a raised feature of the pattern. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, now because it's supposed to be a raised edge, you're using single crochets So you're going to go through the back loop here and the back loop here, bring a stitch through, and single crochet just like that. Make sure it's the back loops only. Like that. You're going to end up with this lovely raised edge, which is definitely one of the features of the brocade throw. Hers is probably going to look prettier than mine because of that. I don't know, I've just got a thing about raised edges. Personal preference. When you get to the corner features, you want to make sure that you're still lined up properly. There's the stitch over here, the stitch over here. Now what happens if you have too many stitches in one spot? What if you've made a boo-boo and you're not going to line up properly? Okay. Remember what I did with the edge when I was taking care of another problem? I'm going to have to scrunch somebody up here. Like that. Well, let's see. Here's a stitch, here's a stitch, here's a stitch. I'm going to scrunch this up. And I'm going to put this here. Now the back one has one loop too many. So I'm going to go in this one. And I'm going to back up and I'm going to go in the last one. Putting the two together like that. Now on this side it looks like this. On this side it looks like this. And you can't really tell. There's no way to tell that you did that. It's a really sneaky way to do it. It works the same way in the front. If your front has too many stitches, go like this, and through this one, and then you go to your next back one. Like that. When you do your next two stitches, they'll close ranks, and you won't really be able to tell that you did anything. See there? I've connected two stitches there, and you can't tell. Okay, I'm going to go back, do this side, and I'll be back and show you the, well, I can show you now, can't I? I mean, it's basically very simple. And there you have this nice raised feature between each square. It pretty much frames them very well. It'll make the whole thing stand out real pretty. See there? This nice raised feature. I have a blanket. Hold on a second. Where are you? Okay. This is what it looks like when you have the stand-up edges on all your squares. See, it kind of outlines and defines them. And that's what they're going for in the brocade. If you look on the picture, it gives you this stand-up feature. This is the side of this blanket my mom likes. And this is the side that I like. I did a half double connection with all of them, which gave me a nice edge here, even though it's spread apart. So it's all a matter of preference. You should be able to do with crochet what you want to do with crochet. Okay. Now, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to do it the way I do it, which is face to face. And I'm going to use the back loops only, which is what you did when it was back to back. And I'm going to slip stitch it down right across. So all you do is go across, slip stitch. Make sure your slip stitches are loose enough and tight enough. By that I mean you don't want to hold so much tension that your loops end up being smaller than what you're connecting, and you don't want them looser than what you're connecting. So if you were to do this real tight, where are you guys? Like this, you can tell at a glance that your slip stitches are smaller than the length of your stitches. See there? Your slip stitches are very short, and these are long. If you do that all the way along, you're going to have bunchy. You don't want bunchy. So you want to try to keep your slip stitches loose enough that they're the same length as your underlying stitches. And you can pretty much eyeball it as you go along, see? See? See, just like that. And you can tell the length of these is the same as the length of these. If you make it too loose, it's going to make your connection too wide. If you make it too tight, it's going to make your material bunch. So that's how you want to do it. Straight across. Like that. Hold on a minute. I've had so many people calling me outside the door today when I'm doing this. I've done 16 pieces so far. 16 different sets over twice. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue the slip stitch. Make sure it's loose enough. It doesn't take that much extra time to and put my glasses back on to check it out. So this is going to be the back. So it's going to be a slight edge on the back. See, you've got your edge on the back, your ridge. It's a pretty low ridge. And here's what it looks like on the front. This last one's stretching apart here. So there's your connection with your ridges on either side. And that's the second method of connecting it. I suggest, the pattern calls for 6-6. So I suggest you just go ahead and as you make them, connect them until you have 6, and then connect your next 6. And then you can come back and do your edges. And because you use the center one of each one of these, oh, cut that out. Come on. Shh. Okay. Because you use the center one of each of these, make sure that when you do the come across this way, you do the same thing. If you don't want it to bunch, you can do one single slip stitch or chain across from this one to this one and then go on that way. That way you won't get a pinched area. But it's very easy to do. I would go down the line and make sure that your features are connected across from each other where your corners come, where these come to. And if you have any kind of a mismatch, you may find that one side needs to be scrunched in one area and the other side is going to need to be scrunched in another area. But I showed you how to do that, so you can end up with your features right across from each other, like that. Okay, this has been fun to do, and it didn't take that long. You can do one or two of these panels a day, or you can do it. Mikey's favorite way of doing a Afghan or something like that that has a lot of features is to do like all of these, and then all of these, and then all with the ring around it, and like that. So that as you finish each one, each section, you would have a whole bunch of these, because this is, you'd have like 16 of these with this color in the middle, and 16 of these with this color in the middle. Then you can go back and do all 36 with this ring around it, and then you just change colors. You do 16 with this color, 16 with this, and then you can do all 36. Is that 16? 18, pardon me, 18 of each. Then you can do all 36 with, no, you can't, can you? Yeah, same color. Okay. Do all 36 with this color, because that stays the same. And then do your alternate colors of each kind. And then all of them get the same color around the petals. So you can go back and do all of them that way, and then come back and do your corner features, or do this feature, that's the same. Then come back and do your corner features of each color, and then your outside edge. Okay, I really hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed doing it. Hope you don't mind that I didn't go all the way across. I've shown you what it looks like, front-wise and back-wise. This is all slip stitch. Like I said, you want to make sure your slip stitches are the same length as your regular stitches, and you get no bunching, just a nice smooth seam across. That's the secret to a smooth seam. The one that you make to connect it has to be the same size as the ones you're connecting, not looser and not tighter. Okay. I hope this took what's supposed to be a very complicated and advanced pattern and brought it into an area where you can really enjoy it, do it yourself, and have your friends and family drop their jaws when they see what you came up with. It is just so rich and beautiful looking. So let me know what you think. Let me know what colors you used, and you have a wonderful time. Happy crocheting. Bye-bye.